We'll do the pleasantries first. We're here with Kevin Ward, 441 South,
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Canton, Georgia.
That's right.
Only barbecue in Canton, isn't it?
There's not,
There's not a lot of barbecues.
there's not. There's 3 or 4 places in Cherokee County.
Right, okay.
Yeah,
How did this all come to be? Because you used to be in elevators, didn't you?
I did. I worked 23 years in the elevator trade.
It's wild.
Yeah.
And then how this?
And then this. So I found out like in 2010 that I had a vision impairment, so I'm losing my eyesight.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I knew I wouldn't be able to retire from the elevator trade. So I kind of started this as a plan B, my side gig for a while.
It's quite a different change.
Yeah, it's a big
It is
change.
a huge change, but
Yeah.
I've always loved cooking. I've always loved, like growing up, my granddad did all the cooking at our house and at his house. Any kind of family gatherings, he did it all. So I used to love to sit next to him and watch him cook, or really just enjoy eating
Yeah.
at
Right.
all more than anything. But I've always enjoyed cooking, so that's kind of where this led from.
So when you done it as a side thing, how did that start? Because it couldn't have been this to start with, surely.
Right. So I started like Instagram was the biggest thing back early 2009, 2010, back when it was really getting started. There was a lot of guys on there that were just cooking every night, mostly on Big Green Eggs.
Right.
So we would cook and post our stuff, and we just got to know each other.
Yeah, yeah.
And so every day we were trying to one up each other or do
Yeah,
something
yeah.
different and all. And so I started doing that, started teaching some classes at Big Green Egg and doing
Oh, okay.
some demo cooks at other dealers and things like that. And so that's kind of where we moved from just doing this as a side gig to teaching classes to doing some rubs and sauces to doing private classes at people's houses, catering gigs, and just kind of kept growing from there into a food truck. We ran a food truck for 2 years before we opened this restaurant.
Wow.
So the Big Green Eggs, they're the ones we've seen at that pool place. You know, it's like the pool over, the big insulated thing.
Oh, yeah.
So was it them that got you in to do classes under the Big Green Egg banner?
Yeah, I've been to so their headquarters is here in Atlanta.
Ah, okay.
So I've done a lot of classes at their headquarters. We were talking about visually impaired guys earlier.
Yeah.
So I have a friend of mine that's visually impaired, but he cooks on a Big Green Egg. And
Ah.
so they brought him in, and he has a nonprofit that he helps other visually impaired people kind of gain some skills
Cool.
that have lost their eyesight, maybe first responders or veterans that have lost their eyesight during the war and stuff.
So people in a position much like you that need to retrain.
That's right. So
Right.
he gets packages together, and he'll deliver them to them and teach them how to cook on them and
That's
things
wicked.
like that. So he uses Big Green Eggs because you can still touch the outside
Yeah.
without completely burning your skin
It makes
off.
a lot of sense because if you
Yeah.
touch the outside of that, you'd be
Yeah, you're
you'd
done.
melt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how did it? So then you got the food truck. So there's always been barbecue type food. You obviously
It has.
started right.
It has. We do more than just barbecue, but barbecue's our staple.
Yeah.
But it's always been barbecue. So we had it was funny because it was mostly me and Sam, my son, when he was in high school and stuff, but we would cook all night and run a food truck all day. So we only ran it 3 days a week
Oh,
because
okay.
after 3 days, we would be dead to the world.
Yeah. I
Like
can
pretty much
imagine.
up with very little sleep for 3 days. So that's how we moved into the food truck world and knew that we wanted to have our own building at some point.
How long did it take you to go from the green eggs, the sort of first green egg stuff, right through to hey, I've now got a brick and mortar?
Not long.
No.
Really?
Not long. Because once you're cooking on them, there's only so much capacity you can have on Big Green Eggs. So at one time, when we were catering and we were working out of our house, I had 6 of them.
Oh, wow.
Really?
And
Shit.
we would load them down at night and cook on 6 Big Green Eggs to get ready for the next day. And so just the capacity on its own was a hindrance to us. There was only so many jobs we could take at one time. So we started growing into bigger
Yeah.
smokers.
And even with the food truck, you wouldn't have been able to have the smoker or a green egg on a food truck. So presumably you were cooking beforehand, and
Right.
taking it on the food truck. Yeah.
Right. We would cook and then just load the food truck up and go sell.
Right.
We had smokers on there. They just weren't big enough. They were more like smaller things like chicken and ribs, things that we would cook throughout the day we would have on the truck to do.
That's wild.
Oh yeah, it's wild.
How long did you have a food truck for?
We ran it for 2 years before we opened here full
Food
time.
truck's a great idea because you can go anywhere with it.
Yeah.
Right?
You can.
Yeah.
You can, and we mainly stayed right around this area because we knew this is where we wanted to be.
Yeah.
But we did events, we did festivals, we
Nice.
did. There's a place down in Woodstock called Truck and Tap. So what they do is it's a bar,
Yeah.
but they bring in different food trucks every day. So
Nice.
so you kind of have different options for food every day. So we were there once a week. We had our own little. We had a commercial kitchen, a commissary kitchen that we used, but it was over in kind of the rougher part of town
Right.
here. But we would set our truck up out in front a couple of days a week, so we'd have all the people from downtown Canton and around to come eat at the food truck.
Was that a good way to sort of test the waters around here?
It definitely was. It was an awesome way to kind of figure out where you wanted to be, what you wanted to serve, get your name out there. Like, we already had a pretty good following on Instagram from all of our Big Green Egg stuff and selling rubs and sauces and things to opening a food truck. Everybody thought we were a restaurant, but running a food truck and only be out a couple of days, like, it's hard, but it's also people knew where you were
Yeah. That's
every
Yeah.
day. So they knew on Fridays, hey, we're coming to eat.
Right.
You know, that's where they would come at lunchtime, and we'd set up picnic tables and things out in front of it so they could just sit down and eat.
Yeah.
That's wicked.
You've built a really good community around your business as well.
That's exactly right. That's the biggest thing. Like when we opened, we wanted it to be more of a community-driven
Yeah.
Yeah.
type place, not
Yeah.
just food. Like, we're involved in our community. Same thing with the community tables we have
Yep.
in there. We want people to sit down and be able to meet the people.
And that's
that
really
are around
prevalent
them.
when you come in as well, isn't it? That it's like it's shared tables. It's
It's like a big family.
and like when we popped in here earlier and it was busy, so we've delayed this podcast because every single person that comes through to visit yourself or you go and say hi to them, and
Yeah.
that's kind of cool. Did you ever think it would then turn up like that? Did you want it to be a community thing? What I suppose the question is, what is cooking to you? Because for a lot of people, cooking is community, isn't it?
Right. And I wanted it to be that. I didn't know that it was going to be as big as it was.
Yeah.
You know, as big as seeing the same people every day, seeing law enforcement come in here. You know, we were talking about
Yep.
that earlier. You know, you get to know everybody in your community, and it's really cool because they're not only supporting you, but anything that goes on in this community, you try to support them too.
Yeah.
And that's the cool thing about it, and it's really unique in Canton because I don't feel like it's the same vibe in Woodstock or in Jasper
Yeah.
where I live and things like that. There's community, but it's not driven around small businesses.
Right.
And that's one cool thing about Canton is they support a lot of the small businesses, especially during COVID.
Yeah.
Like we would have line, we couldn't serve it, we couldn't have people come in and eat,
Yeah.
but we could serve to go stuff. And on Friday nights, like we would
Everybody-
have a line out into the road of people lined up to get their food from both directions.
Really.
It was unbelievable.
And what? Just going and sitting in the back of the trucks.
Yep, you would just open the door, sit in the back seat, or however they wanted to do it.
Yeah.
Or some people would just bring their whole family and sit in the parking lot with chairs
Yes.
and
That's so good.
tailgate in the parking lot and stuff. It was really neat.
That's wicked.
Yeah.
So how long before COVID had you been open to build that sort of communities, as in brick and mortar open?
So we had been open 2 years
right.
in the brick and mortar before COVID hit. Right at 2 years. Well, a little less. So we opened in October of 2018. So not quite 2 years.
Yeah. Close enough.
Yeah.
And what about jumping from food truck to brick and mortar? How big a change was that?
It's a big
Oh,
step.
it is huge.
Yeah.
Because you're not.
Responsibility is massive, I can
Yeah.
imagine.
It's a massive change, but it's a change for the good because you can prep during the day while you're serving the people versus serving all day.
And
And
then
have to
go
go back to
back.
prep all night to be ready the next day.
Right, you're in one place
Yeah,
to do it
you're
all.
in one place all day long. You have a bigger following. People to this day, there's a lot of people that won't eat on a food truck because they think it's kind of a gimmick,
Right.
or they want to be able to sit down and eat
Yeah, I get that.
and all.
Yeah.
And I get it.
You like a food truck.
I like a
I
food
like
truck.
to sit and actually eat somewhere. But
And I don't know if I like a food truck for the sake of the fact it's a food truck. I like a food truck because it's usually food that you can't find in a brick and mortar.
yeah.
That's
a
right.
food truck's usually like wicked good tacos, or some like street foods are usually stuff that there's not a big enough market for it as a brick and, well, maybe you'll tell me I'm wrong, a big enough market for it to be a brick and mortar, but they do wicked good food. Like real good food.
There's a lot of food trucks that have turned into restaurants.
Yeah.
But I've noticed when they do, they streamline their menu or they change their menu a little bit.
Okay.
Like you said, with a food truck, you can do something different every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you can have a really crazy menu and it draws people in. And that's one thing about a restaurant over, and we've still kept that kind of concept. We do specials every day, something different that'll draw people in versus just having traditional barbecue.
Yeah.
Right.
I really would like for our community to be able to come in here every day and get something different if they wanted it.
Yeah.
Not just
Keeps them
barbecue.
coming back as well. Just the,
Yeah.
something different,
That's
Yeah,
right.
absolutely.
changing it up a bit.
Yeah.
And do different specials. Like I have people come in for lunch that come back for dinner because
Really?
we serve something different at dinner that they didn't have at lunch, or they wanted to come back and try something different.
That's
That's
cool.
a lot of work though, coming up with new things all the
It
time.
is.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work. Luckily I have a really cool staff in the back that are very creative, and that's one of the things we like about when we hire people. Like we want them to be creative. We want them to think outside the box, whether it's prep or the food they serve,
Yeah.
or just how they get their job done. Like I don't want it to be a square peg, square hole type
Yeah.
type business.
Yeah, you don't want it to be this is Kev's business.
That's right.
And it needs to be done Kev's way. That's really cool.
Yeah.
How many people have you got working with you at the moment?
15 right now.
Okay, it's
15?
quite a big team.
15.
Really?
Yeah. With between the full time and our part time staff that works up front at night and weekends.
Wow.
That's a lot.
yeah.
Yeah.
How did that? That must have been scary. Because now
Oh,
you went from I've got a food truck that I
With
can
2 or
sell at
3
any point if
people,
I need
yeah.
to. Now I've got a building with a lease or an ownership on, and 15 people to.
It's not just you anymore. It's you got to worry about everybody that works for you. And it's not just them. You're worried about making sure they're getting paid.
Yeah.
But you've got to worry about their families. A lot of them have kids and significant others at home and things like that. So you're always constantly. It's on you a lot of days. Like you wear it every day because
Yeah.
you're worried not just your family but everybody's
My
family.
family.
And your family works here as well, am I right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Everybody does. So my son Sam runs the smokers. My daughter Haley, she handles our catering. She runs the board at night, and she does a lot of our marketing for us.
Nice.
And then my wife, she works a full-time job, but she comes in at night and helps out. And then I have an 11-year-old he'll come in and wash dishes or do something
Aw.
Nice.
every once in a while. And then my son's fiance, she comes in and works. She helps with catering, but works here.
That's brilliant.
So
Absolutely
yeah,
brilliant.
it's a family affair.
From you and your son cooking out back in the green egg to that.
Yep.
That's turned into quite a big operation, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like
It
for a little corner in a strip mall in Canton.
Yeah.
There's quite a bit to running it as a barbecue.
Barbecue is it's not as, people always equate it to being a cheaper meal option, which it really isn't.
No.
And I don't think they understand the labor that goes. It's very labor intensive food. We could be a lot more profitable serving burgers and things like
Yeah, of
that,
course.
but that's not where our passion is. We do it. We serve burgers once a week, but our passion is not in a burger. You can be creative with a burger, but it takes a lot. It takes a lot to be consistent every day with barbecue. The 15, 16 hours a day that it takes to cook all your larger proteins and side prep and things like that. It's just a lot of fun. It's a lot different. It's a challenge every day.
Yeah.
So when we were at Gold, what were you
Well, I
going
was
to say?
just saying, like, being here in the south, we've been to a few barbecues and seen, like, how much work actually goes into it. There's so much. It's not, you don't just start the day and go home at a certain time. It's like you're round the clock. You're
That's
working
right.
all hours of the day.
Yeah, we're here about 5 in the morning till most time somebody's here till 10 or 11 at night.
So that's a long shift.
Yeah, I spoke to one of the girls at Goldie's when we were going in, and she was behind, it's like this. She was behind the grating, and she was clearly cleaning out the firebox. And I'd said to her, what time we started smoking. And it's like, this is me getting it ready for tomorrow's haul.
Yeah.
And it was like 1
Yeah.
the day before. So it's like the full clean out, then get it going again. That's wild.
Yeah.
Like nowhere else on the planet would you be prepping food for that long.
Oh, you have to have a slight bit of insanity to want to run a barbecue joint. That's why
Just like
just a slight. But like Goldie's and a lot of places around here, like we're open 5 days a week here.
Yeah.
We're closed Sundays and Mondays. But a lot of places like Goldie's, they're only open 3 or 4 days, 3 days a week. So,
I think it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday. That's it.
but they're there Monday. They're there almost 7 days a week to get that 3 days
yeah.
perfect.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. And you think that, like, it's obviously not cheap. I think it was $20 a half pound or whatever it was. Don't quote me on that. But like, they're only taking money in 3 days.
Yeah,
The rest of the time, they're still spending money on materials, food,
yeah,
staff.
yeah. You think when brisket's $5 a pound, if not more, depending on where you are and the cut of brisket you're using, you know, and they're selling hundreds of pounds of that a day. You
That's
know,
wild.
It is unbelievable. I mean, even here we go through roughly around 1,000, 1,500 pounds of brisket a week,
Why?
and you know, at $5 a pound, and you're hoping to sell it all. I mean, we sell it all. We sell out pretty much every week and every day.
Yeah.
But trimming it, cooking it, your loss on that, even at $20 a half pound or $40 a pound, like that's really where you need to be to be profitable in selling brisket.
Yeah.
Most people sell it at a loss or breaking even point just to get people in.
And
But
then make money on sides or make money on anything else.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So that's the common business model, is it?
That's the normal business model.
So obviously you're here all the time at the minute.
Yep.
Near enough. But is it still easier to be here all the time? Because before, when you were in elevators before, weren't you?
Yeah.
And you were like away.
Yeah, I was gone. I mean, there's days in the elevator trade you would, if you were on call, like you may not go home. You may stay out all night
Right.
working on elevators, fixing elevators. I traveled a good bit when I worked there. When I was in the field, most of it was here in Atlanta, but I lived an hour from Atlanta, so I was driving to work and then driving back home. So I was leaving at 4 or 5 in the morning, getting home still 8 or 9 at night to get up and do it again the next day. So, you know, I missed out a lot with my kids and spending time with them growing up and things they got to do. So now I spend time with them every day.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, we're around each other 24/7, which is cool.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of fun. I don't know, it's just different. It's different being around your kids at work and at home. Sometimes you got to draw, those lines get fuzzed
Right. Okay.
and all, because
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
constantly talking about work or you're conststly talking about something that went on at home.
It's
Have you
hard
found
to
that
switch on.
difficult?
Yeah.
At times, I think it is. I think that at times you get frustrated at work and it follows you home and stuff
Yeah.
like that. I mean, I think that's with every job.
Oh yeah.
It's nicer to be frustrated with your own work, though, isn't it, than
That's
working for
right.
someone else.
That's right.
It's your own problems.
Yeah. Yeah. It's exactly that, Kate. It's your own problems. It's not like being a maker in any form, whether it's making of food, making, jewellery, pens, pottery, whatever it is. At least it's your thing.
That's right.
It's a lot easier to be frustrated at
You're
your own
not
thing.
waiting on somebody else.
Yeah.
And you don't have anybody else. It's you.
Yeah.
Like, make it or break it, it's you.
Yeah.
Make it or break it issue. Yeah, that's true.
And that's one thing. Like you say, we spend a lot of time. I mean, that's why you spend so much time here. That's
Yeah.
why y'all spend so much time doing what you do.
Yeah, exactly.
It's make
Yeah.
it or break it. I mean, it's on you. No, it's not
Fucking
going to
leave it.
happen
Yeah.
automatically.
no.
Yeah, we love it. Absolutely love it. So, I usually open with a question, but I wanted to get an understanding of and communicate why this barbecue is still a form of making, and why food is still a form of making. The opening question usually is, which I'll ask you now, who is Kev Ward?
You ask that question, and sometimes I still feel like I'm trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
Yeah?
I think that Kevin is ever evolving. I don't consider myself a chef. I don't consider myself, I have a passion for what I do, but I learn something new every day. So to ask that, it's hard for me to answer, because today I feel like Kevin's just the boss.
Yeah.
Right.
Yesterday it may have been different.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It just depends on the capacity. Like I'm still involved. You ask the people that work here, they're like, I've never worked in a place where the owner still comes back here and makes sausage every week or trims briskets or runs smokers and stuff. They're usually hands off.
Yeah.
And I don't like to be that kind of person. I mean, at the end of the day, like you said, it's make it or break it. Like it's not going to get done by itself. And
Yeah.
relying on others, I still want my touch on it. So some days it's Kevin's the boss. Some day is Kevin's the dad in here.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah,
'cause,
yeah.
I mean, even with having kids that aren't necessarily yours here, you know, you have kids that are going through stuff. Everybody goes through stuff. Everybody has stuff going on in their life. They may not want to talk to their parents about it,
Yeah,
or they may have gotten in trouble at home, but they need somebody to listen to them
yeah.
and stuff like that. So I mean, it's every day. You're thinking you wear a different hat every day.
Yeah, you're a role model for a lot of people.
Sometimes you feel I don't necessarily think I am, but I mean, I guess you are in a lot of ways.
Yeah, yeah.
And all, but you know, Kevin's who Kevin is has changed a lot. Like I said, I have an impairment that has changed my life drastically and my family's life drastically in the past 10 years. So I mean, I've changed from who I was to who I am now. Like, just totally different avenue. Like you said, it's a big change from going from
Yeah.
from a trade job to working in the food industry. It's still customer service,
Yeah.
but
And some
Yeah.
people feel like, you know, oh, they're too old to do this, or you know, it's not enough time to change what they're doing, but there is.
oh yeah,
There
there's
is time.
always time to change.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if the timeline's right, you'd have been about, what, 37, 38 when you made the first change to the green egg
Yep,
about then?
yep.
What would you say to people
So I
that
had a
do-
big green egg my big green egg at home is probably 20 years old.
Yeah, but
So
that
I've
was
had it,
yourself
but
cooking, yeah.
Yeah, but really focusing on cooking, I was in my mid 30s.
Yeah. What would you say to anyone that does kind of think that, oh, well, I'm stuck in this job now, so, you know, stuck being the operative word?
You know, it's scary. It's scary because you get most jobs, and I'm sure y'all have had the same ones. Most jobs pay you just enough to where you're dependent on that paycheck, to where you're so scared to take that leap to go somewhere else.
Right.
My son Sam, he's funny. He's 20, and he works here all the time. He works here as much as I do, puts in the hours, and he always tells his friends, he was like, "Yeah, you can work 8 hours." He said that 9 to 5 pays the bills. Everything after that 9 to 5 is what grows you as a person and grows you into what you want to be.
Yeah.
And he's right. I mean, it's anybody that wants to start something that doesn't want to be tied down to that 9 to 5 job. You got to be prepared to work 24 hours a day some days, or 48 hours a day.
It's wise
But
words.
it's
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
very wise.
yeah, it's like that. But it's you've got to be prepared to put in the hours after you leave work.
Yeah.
Work your job and then go home and do
Yeah.
what you're passionate about, because that's how you grow to where you are. That's what I did.
Right?
I mean, I would work all day and then go home and work all weekend long to start this up.
Do you think if it wasn't for that vision impairment, you'd still be in elevators?
I think about that every day.
No.
I don't know what I would be doing. It's kind of weird that you would that your path changes like that,
Yeah.
because you never know what your path. I don't know what my path will be 10
No,
years
that's
from now.
exactly it, yeah.
You know, I never would have imagined that I would have been running a restaurant at 46 years old.
But it's wild, isn't it? Because if you could, and I'm not in any way qualified to have an opinion on the matter, but you would always imagine, and you see it all the time, where people that have an impairment or something happens or a disability comes or an accident comes, and it's the end of it all. And as I say, I'm being very clear, I have no qualification to have an opinion on it. But you've managed to turn it into this, which is like a whole new life for yourself
Right.
because of that.
And you know, you talk about that. It is. I've changed it into something because I didn't want to just give up.
Yeah.
I mean, I could have just took my disability or retirement or pension or whatever it was and sit at home.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to do that. One, it doesn't set a good example for my kids
Yeah.
to just give up. And also, if this didn't happen, I would have never moved closer. I would have never moved to Canton. My kids would have never found what they do for a living. They may have done something different. You know, it could have been a whole different story
Yeah.
for them, for my wife, for my 11-year-old. You know, it would have been a whole different story. They may not have ever met the people that they're engaged to or gotten
Yep.
married to, or their future, what they look for their future.
Yep.
Could have been a whole different story. So it's not didn't just affect me, it
Yeah,
affects everybody
everybody.
around you, like the people that work here.
Yeah.
Like they would have never worked here. They would have never learned the skills and the trades that they have
Yeah.
moving
Yeah.
forward.
You're giving them a
It's
future.
the girl behind the till, I apologise, I forgot her name. You know, she was saying she used to live in like Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And moved
Julia.
up here. Yeah. And then moved up here to live. Like, that's someone who maybe never have found a job here because of that jump you took.
That's right.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is we sold our house before we bought the house we live in now, but we were going to build a house. So we moved into an apartment. And
Okay.
they had just moved here from Colorado, and they were living in the apartment too. And she was like, I'm so bored staying here all day. And she became friends with Maggie, my wife, and started working here. And she's been here a little over 2 years now.
Nice.
It's
Everyone's
crazy.
so happy as well.
Yeah, we
They
try
love
to,
it. Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Even
You
though-
know, we
Yeah.
try to. I'm sure there's days that we're not. I mean,
Yeah.
everybody,
But it's a pretty good vibe, isn't it?
it is.
Like, there's a lot of different people coming in and out, and
And the food's
you're
good.
you're getting good grub. It's hard to be in a bad mood when
Yeah.
you're getting
That's
good
right.
grub, you know?
That's right.
It is. You know, you talk a lot about your kids working here and, you know, your kids feel... Do you view this... I suppose there's two questions. Do you view this, and did you view this as a generational thing when you started it?
I wasn't sure.
Right.
I viewed it as a vessel to one, be in our community and to still be able to provide for my family. But as they got older and I just saw that they wanted to be here and work here and how they see the vision of this business growing, I have seen it grow into a generational thing,
Nice.
is what we're hoping for.
How recently?
I would say in the past 2 years.
Okay.
Well, I'd really say in the past year. I mean, my daughter is in college. She's getting a marketing degree, but she's
Good
in the
degree.
past year and a half, she started coming to me with ideas of, hey, this is what I see for our business in the future. This is how I see it growing. Same thing with my son. He didn't go to college, but he comes in and he's like, all right, this is how I see it getting better here or more
Nice.
efficient and all. They see they've learned a lot on the business side of things that you can't get by going to school. Like
Yeah.
it's a
hands-on job.
It's a
You learn
hands-on
on the
very
job.
much.
Yeah.
Do you think you could have given them that same education if you'd stayed in elevator?
no.
It's interesting, eh?
It is.
I often think, because, you know, so my pops was, he had lorries. He rented out lorries and rock trucks and backhoes and all the rest of it. And I often think, like, not that I want that over this, super happy with this, but I often think, what would it have been if I was born maybe 4 years earlier, 4 or 5 years earlier, I would have been of age as he was passing it all over and selling it all off. And you often think, like, the education that comes with just being around these things and part of a business. And nobody ever knows, I don't think there's ever a right or wrong answer, but it's really interesting to hear your perspective of it, of like, no, these, like, your son's not been to college, your daughter is going to college, and they're both doing it to be part of this business at a later date.
Yeah.
You don't have
Hey.
to do the college thing, do you?
No, you don't. And I didn't go to college. I mean, I had a trade skill that we
Yep.
went to school for, but I didn't go to college. My wife didn't go to college. And I don't think it's really college is for everybody.
No.
I think there's so many trades, there's so many skill sets, and so many people out there that work hard and learn things that that school can never teach you. I mean, I think, and this is, I'm in a lot of, I've been in a lot of groups with other business owners and things, and a lot of them have gone to college and things like that, and they'll tell you, going to college taught me organizational skills. It taught me, things like that help build on being a successful business.
Right.
But it didn't teach me anything about running a business.
Right. Right.
It gave me some knowledge and skills and how to use software and things like that.
That's how we feel.
Yeah.
that will get you to where you want to be as a
Yep.
successful business owner outside of college. Where I feel like people that work in it every day, sometimes they see
That's the
things
education, man.
they see things that other people won't see because they've been through it.
Yeah.
And all.
They've done it. They've burst their knuckles. They've burnt their hands.
That's right.
They've done. We talk about this often. We obviously did go to uni. We both went to the same course in product design. None of us are product designers anymore. but it gave us an awareness of building a website, of, you know, communicating a product, of Adobe software, of video editing, of Photoshop. Like, it just gave us a baseline foundation on which to build. It didn't give us a direction by any means. And I think that's maybe what's miscommunicated with college or university now, is that it's whatever you do here is what you're just going to continue to build on. But actually, often cases, you kind of veer off, don't you?
Yeah.
You don't build directly on top of it, but as you say, you use these things.
Right.
So what is next for 441? You've been here, you've been in this building now 2 years before COVID, then COVID,
So 5
then
years.
So 5 years.
Yep.
Where do you see it going?
So, you know, if you'd asked me this 2 months ago,
Could have been very different.
I would have told you that, hey, we're working on another location.
Right.
The world we live in right now and how things are going here, we kind of took a step back from that. Like we were well on our way to another location. It was going to be a standalone building. It was going to be a lot. That's our goal, is to have another 441. But if I can't have my hands in it every day, or have one of my kids' hands in it to know how it's going to be ran, we struggle with that. That's why we had to take a step back, because it was a little ways away from here.
Okay.
So we wouldn't be able to be in it every day.
Yeah.
And so we're just not
Yeah.
prepared. Our processes and our systems in place, and the craftsmanship of what we do every day, we don't think it would be there just yet. So
That makes
or
sense.
training people to have the same passion we have about it. You can't teach somebody that. They have to have it or they don't. It's like initiative,
Yeah. You need to spend a lot of time,
back
Yeah.
and forth.
without using the sort of commonly used term shadowing.
Right.
You need to spend a lot of time, like, in your shop, basically evolving into your same hopes, dreams and aspirations for the business before they've done that.
That's right.
Does that mean Glasgow, Scotland's off the table? That means we can't do Glasgow, Scotland yet. Not yet. Dude, it's
Not
only
yet.
a 9-hour flight.
Yeah, not yet. But no, that's kind of what's in store for us. We know where we want to be, and I think I think that opportunity presented itself to let us know that, hey, we're not quite there yet.
Right.
We've kind of taken it slow to get where we are now, and we're just going to continue to take it slow to the next step. But our next step is, one, we want to own our own building, and just continue to serve people, whether it's in our small footprint we have here or in a larger footprint. We just don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves to where we can still be around, like you said, generationally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, because I think the financial side of it can really overwhelm you really quick
I
in the
can
restaurant
imagine.
business.
I can imagine. What was the realization that to take the step back? You know, because it'd be like, for a lot of people, it would take you a lot of time to build up to that, and then the other side of it is a lot of people, and I'm certainly bad for it, where we've had an idea and I've hung on to it for too long. Like, how long did you hang on to it, and what was the realization that actually this is the time to let go?
So it was presented to us. We weren't really necessarily looking for a second
Right.
location at the time. So it kind of dropped in our lap, and then we started exploring it. The financial side of it, it was going to be a huge investment for us. COVID did take a toll on us. We're still here, but we're
Yeah.
still kind of building back up from that.
Okay.
Even 3 years later, which is crazy to
yeah.
think about that. But I mean, it happened quick.
It's the same with a lot of businesses, though. It's all the same. Everyone's still trying to recover from
Yeah,
that.
and you know,
it's tough.
even with the government offering some kind of subsidies and things like that, it was one of those things where interest rates right now are through the roof.
Wild.
They're insanely high. Having that kind of investment in a building that we're 2 hours away from and not being in it every day was a huge concern for us. And the other side of it is not knowing what this world's going to be like in 6-8 months down the road, or the economy's going to be like in 6-8 months down the road. Like, you start seeing businesses that have been around almost 100 years closing up. It really does start making you think, okay, how's it going to be? Which
Yeah.
I know it's not going to be as big of a recession as we had like in 2008 and all, but it could be big enough to impact
Doesn't need
us.
to be as big as that. It
Yeah.
just needs to be big enough to
it would have a huge impact on us if something like that was to happen.
Yeah.
And I just felt like right now wasn't the right time. My kids are still young. They're almost 21, so their life's just starting. To put that kind of burden on them at 21, I just don't think they're quite ready for it yet.
Right.
Or Dad's more the guidance person in their life. Like I let them kind of handle it day to day.
Yeah.
And I'm still here every day, but I'm more like, okay, well, if we do this, what are the possibilities that could happen from that?
So it's not necessarily off the table, but for just now, it's
It's not a no, it's just a not a right
We're just
now.
being cautious.
Right, we're being very cautious. I think anybody owning a business is a huge leap of faith.
yeah.
To have 2 locations is that little bit of insanity we talked about running a barbecue business just got a little bit more.
Yeah,
But
yeah, it did.
Yeah, it does.
So there seems like you've mentioned a lot of times with your kids and stuff. Does that drive a lot of your decisions?
Yes.
Having kids here, and because that would put so much extra onus on it. Not just having the responsibility for other people that work for you, but it's your kids.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I mean, I want them to have, I don't want them to struggle. You know, I see it happening every day where I want them to have a good head on their shoulder. I think kids nowadays, there's a lot of misconception about kids not wanting to work and things. I think there's a lot of kids that want to work out there and
Loads.
that have a good work ethic.
Yeah.
They just want an
I-
opportunity. They want to be given the opportunity to do.
And they want the chance to find the thing that they
Yeah.
want to do.
That's right. I think I think that's where they're struggling. Kids will go out there and get a job and it's not what they're passionate about. If you find something you're passionate about, you're going to want to show up every day.
Yeah.
And so I think finding out that my kids are passionate about what we do here, and some days we go home and we're all ready to quit.
Yeah.
I'll bet.
You're like, hey, all right, we're going to go find something else
Yeah.
to do.
Yeah.
But you still get up and do it the next day after you slept on it,
Yeah.
But I think that with everybody that works here, like there's a lot of kids that work here that don't know what they want to do yet, but they know they enjoy being here,
Yeah.
and maybe that's going to feed into something they do long term.
Yeah. And that's the important thing, isn't it? It's just you don't have to know what you want to do, but if you enjoy it,
That's right.
stick with it.
Stepping stones.
Stick with it. You know, you said something to us the last time we were here because we were talking about Kate and I and
Oh yeah,
spending more time
yeah,
out in the States.
tells everybody this.
And it's I'll butcher it. I will butcher it because I butcher everything on this podcast.
Nice.
But it was, I'd said to you, we're enamoured with the States at the minute, but we're obviously in a honeymoon period. And you turn around and says, that's the whole point in life, is to always be in the honeymoon period.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, fucking Kev's got it, man.
Yeah.
Kev knows. Do
Yeah.
you still feel like you're in the honeymoon period with all this?
I do most days. I mean,
yeah. Well, you don't have to every day, do
yeah.
you?
I mean, it depends on what. It's like being married. How long have y'all been married?
We've been together 12 years, we've been married 2.
Okay. So I mean, some days it feels like it's forever.
No, it's always. Oh, forever. Yeah. Always feels
Good
that,
answer.
Yeah.
But some days it feels like just yesterday.
Yeah.
It does. I mean, and I think that's anything with a relationship. But I think as long as you stay in that honeymoon period, but I think everything's ever evolving.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you own a business for 20 years, I think that if you're not evolving into what's going on in the world today and ever evolving with your menu, with what the services you offer, things like that, I think that the honeymoon period's over, that you're never going to be any more than what you are. And the same thing with a relationship. If you ever get out of that honeymoon period, it gets pretty stale,
Yeah.
pretty stagnant.
It's interesting you say the ever evolving. 2 makers, one more recently and one the last time we were here, that always really stick out to me. We speak to a lot of makers our age, young. We all view the world as it's just going to be amazing and we're going to make it work. Whatever happens, we're going to make it work. And that, to me, is absolute magic, that people can do that. But 2 people, Paul Hamler and J.R. Cooper the other day, that are Paul's 80 odds, J.R. Cooper's late 70s. And even them doing the simplest thing of taking to social media. They would never have imagined when they started that social media would be the driver of their products.
Yeah.
Oh,
You
wow.
have to just be open to everything, don't you?
Oh yeah, I mean social media is huge. Like there's other
Well, you wouldn't have
barbecue
got the green egg
restaurants.
thing, would you, if it wasn't for that?
That's right. I feel like social media has made us what we are.
Yeah.
I mean, I firmly believe in that. I feel like there's a lot of people out there that won't embrace social media and they're not around long.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess you just have to. You just have to learn it. I mean,
And you just have to you just have to do it.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
a lot of people will say, "Hey, that's not my thing."
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Like you can do it wrong and people are still going to follow you.
I can also tell you that doing your taxes and doing your books is nobody's thing, but you have to do it.
That's right.
There's certain things you just have to do,
That's
right?
exactly right.
yeah, it's part of your business model now.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So it went from, just to surmise, and we'll wrap it up because you're starting to get busy again. It's important just to mention on this that you very kindly shoehorned this in the middle of a
Work
busy
day.
service period. You went from, obviously, degenerative eye disease
Yep.
to you've always cooked, to meeting a bunch of people that cook, to doing some classes with the Green Egg Company, to food truck, to this.
Yes.
Do you ever sit back and just think this is wild?
Appreciate that you've come this far.
Like the appreciate can be the next question.
Okay,
do you ever
well.
think? Do you ever think that this is just wild? It's like it's mental. It's crazy that it's gone from that to this.
You know, there's days I sit back and I feel like, why am I struggling every day?
Yeah.
Well, you know, because as a business owner too, you know, there's a struggle every day.
Oh man, anyone that tells you that it's all peachy is lying.
That's right.
Yeah.
They just have bigger struggles than we do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's not, you know, but then I have to stop. And that's one thing my wife tells me every day. Stop and look around what you have accomplished and what you are doing.
Yeah.
So you're not struggling. I mean, it's a struggle, but the only time it's ever going to end is if you give up.
Yeah.
As long as you're not giving up and just keep pushing, like it's baby steps every day.
Yeah.
That's what happened. Like it was just one thing after another. And like at first I never knew that it was going to lead to this. And then
Yeah.
as it started leading towards this goal, I never had a 5-year plan that this is, hey, I want to have a restaurant. Back in like 2017 when I started running my food truck full time, I was like, I want to have a brick and mortar one day.
Yeah.
And then it just quickly started growing into that.
Yeah.
And which I'm thankful for. I'm thankful that it grew into this, and I'm thankful that there's a reason why these things happen. But yeah, it's wild to think that I came from working on elevators, and like 13 years later, I'm running a restaurant every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Do you feel like this is Kev though?
I feel like this is what I was supposed to be doing
Yeah.
all along.
Yeah, that's cool.
You know,
That's real cool.
I feel like it's what my family was supposed to be doing, and it may not be. I guess I should say I feel like being around my family every day, whether it was cooking barbecue or whatever else we did, day in and day out. I feel like that's who I'm supposed to be.
That's interesting. So this is, in many ways, just the vehicle to facilitate that.
That's right.
It's a pretty cool vehicle, though, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Got a
And
big old
it's-
exhaust pipe and it's fueled by wood. It's a pretty good vehicle.
No, I feel like it is I feel like everything's a vessel.
Yeah.
It's a vessel to help others. It's a vessel to be around your family. It's a vessel to instill stuff into other people that work for you.
Yeah.
Whether they left on good terms or not, they learned something from being here.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a big thing. Passing on knowledge. So 2 questions. I've got one. And then Kate's got the final.
Okay.
What would you do if you knew you couldn't fail?
What would I do if I knew I couldn't what?
If you knew that you could not fail, what would you do?
If I knew I couldn't fail. I don't know. I feel like I haven't failed.
Yeah.
I feel like failure is when you stop, when you give up. I mean,
like that.
What I would do is I would already open that second location if I knew I couldn't fail. I would have took
That's the
that.
one in Glasgow we're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would open one there. If I
Yeah,
knew
there
I
you go.
couldn't fail, like the sky would be the limit
Yeah.
Yeah.
as to what I would do.
You'd lean into it more.
I would lean into more of growing the business quicker than taking my time.
I think that's a good tell that you're doing the right thing. Because if you know that I would do exactly this, I would just do more of it.
Yeah.
Like, that's a good tell you're in a good place, right?
Yeah. I think so.
Kate?
Yeah. What advice would you give your younger self? 2 whammies at the end. Thanks, Jack.
You know, you see people, especially football world, they always say trust the process. Just trust the plan, whether you think you have it whether you think you have it figured out or not, because you don't.
Yeah.
Your plan's never figured out. Just trust that it's going to work out. Good, bad, and indifferent. Like, I mean, I know people make bad choices a lot of times, or make choices that they wouldn't go back and make again. But think about all the good that came from that choice. All the people you met along the way, the relationships you've built, the skills you've learned, things like that. I mean, my younger self would have been save more money.
Yeah.
You don't need to spend it all in one time, you know.
Yeah.
That would be the biggest thing, you know. And to be patient. Let things happen.
Patience seems a hard one at the minute, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I know I suffer from it because,
I always suffer from patience.
especially when you're scrolling and you see all these amazing things happening around the world, and you know, Bill and Shannon Oyster said it very well. They're a 25-year overnight success, because you do see all these overnight successes. You don't see the 25 years that gone into it, and I think that breeds being impatient. I am not a patient person.
You know, and I think people, I think social media has done that to everybody. I think people have this perception, because perception is reality, that these people just got handed to them. They started a year ago to be where they are at,
Yeah.
or 2 years ago to be where they're at. And when you go to hear their story, and you know that they've been doing this, working under somebody, or working in this trade for 20 plus years to finally get the notoriety
To do
out
it
there.
themselves, yeah.
You know, it's funny, because if you're doing it for notoriety, you're doing it for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah. Yeah.
And all. I used to have a guy that worked for me, and he used to be so upset that we weren't getting notoriety. I said, we are getting notoriety. We're just not getting it at the pace you want it.
Yeah.
You know, and he was so enamored and ate up with, well, so and so is getting noticed more than we are. It doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm worried about.
You're looking at
Paying
your
your-
own path.
That's
You're
right.
not
I'm
looking
worried
at anyone
about paying the
else.
bills and getting people in this
Yeah.
door.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
I can't
all
deal
that-
with notoriety right
That's
now. I got
right.
all
That's
this
the
other stuff.
notoriety I need
Yeah.
right
Yeah,
there.
yeah, yeah.
And all. But I feel like that if you follow along on social media with people, you just got to understand that they have the same struggles, if not worse, than you do. And you know, the patience part of it is they had it. They deal with it too. Everybody
Yeah.
deals with the same thing. So
And the real successful ones had the patience.
that's right.
You're just only seeing them now.
That's right. You didn't
didn't
see the
see them-
meltdowns
Yeah.
behind the scenes.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
you're getting is the highlight reel.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, we see it all the time, huh? The highlight
Yeah.
reel. That's all you see most of the time.
Mate, this has been real good fun.
Oh, it's been
Yeah.
I'm
awesome.
glad we could fill it in.
No, I'm
glad
so
we
glad
came
y'all
back.
came back.
I
Yeah.
know.
A bit
Yeah.
sooner than we planned,
Yeah.
but
Well.
it's it's here.
So looking for land now?